This is a new day. This is a new day full of sound, light, and expectation. This day has been waiting for you. This day has been waiting especially for you, to embrace you, to guide you. This day has been waiting with open arms just for you. This is the day we have been given. Let's not waste it. Come now and let us worship together. Good morning and welcome to everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Youngstown, Ohio. As Reverend Joseph would say, one of the greatest cities in the world. We welcome our friends and congregants from Youngstown and all over the Mahoning Valley, from around the country and from around the world. Thank you all for joining us for this special service today. And we especially welcome our guest speaker and our guest minister, Reverend Samuel Prince. Welcome, Reverend. A few announcements I have for you today. You may have seen in the weekly bulletin a few things of importance. One of which is the ongoing evaluation of when we will be able to reopen in person. And our board president, Elizabeth White, did a really nice little article in the update that I would encourage you to read. We have a small committee that has done great work to inform the board and to inform Reverend Joseph with regard to all the varying pieces that go into opening up again. So more information will be forthcoming on that. The board will be considering the recommendations in this coming week. And again, I just want to thank the committee, Sue Alexander, Jan Elias, and Ralph Malmer for the great work they've done to get us there. So thank you very much. You may also have seen that there is a scam alert. If you get a text from Reverend Joseph stating that he's in a meeting and he needs help from you to buy gift cards because he's too busy, don't do it. It's not him, it's a scam. Apparently there is a large-scale scam going on around the country, preying particularly on ministers and clergy to get church folks to, fall in line and turn over money in one form or another. So if you get a text from Reverend Joseph, please ignore it if he's asking for gift cards or your assistance in that regard from a meeting. It's not him. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to mention that our office administrator, Sarah King, and her husband, Sean, have welcomed a new baby into the world. Grace King was born on Monday, May 10th. Everybody's doing well, and Big Brother Tommy is helping with all the Big Brother jobs that Big Brothers do. Those are the announcements. Let me catch my place here. That's it.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to Unitarian Universalist Justice, Ohio. And as we light our chalice this morning, there we are. Our chalice is being lit with these words. Welcome to this place. Here we seek justice and truth. Here we celebrate life and contemplate a mystery. Here we find healing and wholeness. Welcome. These words are by the late Raymond R. Naisman.
Please join me in reciting our church's covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Each month, we give to an organization that supports transformation in our community, which is the heart of our mission. In our church's historic commitment to the well-being of our community, we give 100% of our offering to those in need. UUYO's Giveaway the Plate recipient for May is Planned Parenthood Greater Ohio Mahoning Valley Health Centers in Youngstown and Warren. In October 2016, Planned Parenthood turned 100 years strong. Planned Parenthood was founded on the revolutionary idea that women should have the information and care that they need to live strong, healthy lives and fulfill their dreams. No ceilings, no limits. Today, Planned Parenthood is a trusted healthcare provider, an informed educator, a passionate advocate, and a global partner helping similar organizations around the world. Planned Parenthood delivers vital reproductive health care, sex education, and information to millions of women, men, and young people worldwide. Planned Parenthood reaches millions of lives each year. They provide educational programs and outreach to 1.1 million people every year, and millions more online through digital sex education programs. Moreover, Planned Parenthood has 16 million activists, supporters, and donors nationwide. The Planned Parenthood Action Network enables online activists in all 50 states, including many here in the Mahoning Valley, to stay on top of issues and get involved with campaigns that advance and protect women's rights and health. The Mahoning Valley is fortunate to have two Planned Parenthood health centers, one in Youngstown and one in Warren, offering high quality health care services. Planned Parenthood is well known for providing women's health care services, but our Mahoning Valley health care centers also provide expert care for men and the LGBTQ plus community. In spite of consistently offering high quality, compassionate expert care, Planned Parenthood has experienced funding cuts in recent years, so community support is more important now than ever. UUYO has been a longtime supporter of our local Planned Parenthood health centers and educational programs, and many of our members have also been active in advocacy for Planned Parenthood and women's reproductive health. During a time where so many need a trusted place to go for healthcare services, it is important to make sure our Planned Parenthood health centers stay here and stay open and know that the community is here to support them no matter what. We will now receive the offering that supports the life of Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and our wider world. Please join me now for a few moments of silent meditation.
Affirmation of Hope. This is a poem by Loretta Williams. Loretta Williams, from 1980 to 1989, Dr. Williams was the director of the section on social responsibility of the Unitarian Universalist Association and was instrumental in convening the Black Concerns Working Group in 1986 as she was directed by our 1985 Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly. We, the bearers of the dream, affirm that a new vision of hope is emerging. We pledge to work for that community in which justice will be actively present. We affirm that there is struggle yet ahead, yet we know that in the struggle is the hope for the future. We affirm that we are co-creators of the future, not passive pawns. We stand united in affirmation of our hope and the vision of a just and inclusive society. We affirm the unity of all persons. We affirm the brotherhood and sisterhood, and may I add, theirhood, that allows us to touch upon each other's humanity. We affirm that a unity that opens up our eyes, ears, and hearts to see the different but common forms of oppression, suffering, and pain. Yet we are one in the image of God, and we celebrate our hopes for human unity within ourselves and within the gathered community. We will discover the strength not to hide in indifference. Affirm that hope publicly expressed energizes and enables us to move forward. Together, we pledge action to transcend the barriers, be they racial, be they political, economic, social, or religious. We pledge to make our tomorrows become our days. Yes, friends, we have had a rough year. 15 months. I can remember what I was doing this time last year. I was hunkered down, going to a service wherever I could find one. I was commiserating with myself, with my loved one, and trying to figure out what was all this that was circling around me. Some of you on this screen, I may know, because I remember coming to your church about 3 years ago and standing on that wonderful platform. Oh, I love that platform. And some of you who I haven't seen in so many years, only on these Hollywood squares, otherwise known as Zoom or some other form of video conferencing application. Amidst all this and amidst all that, we seem to be reinventing ourselves. Some of us are doing this by seeking justice, love, mercy, living humbly. This is about a renewal. Transparent, though, I must say that those words that I've just used, seeking justice, love, mercy, living humbly, it is taken from a scripture, one of my favorite scriptures, Micah 6:8, that I've always loved. And even upon my leaving seminary, and even into these years, that scripture within its own self have always have stuck with me. So the question is, what does it mean to seek justice, love, mercy, and walk humbly? So I have created a thought process around that. And those who are biblical scholars may not agree with me now in this time, but I look at that as a part 1, a part 2, and a part 3. I am convinced that this is the order of this list: justice, mercy, being humble, or humility. It is not arbitrary. I think it is a progression. Part 1 leads to part 2. Part 2 brings us to part 3. Again, as I said, I always wanted to have a discussion to create some kind of a homily around this, and now I have that chance. And so it just bubbles up. This is what bubbles up with me. So buckle in your seats and take this journey with me here. I can watch the news. I see the barbaric acts which is being carried out against others by those who are claiming that they are better than me or better than you, probably engaging in many forms of white supremacist acts, especially against those who are marginalized. Sometimes this makes us feel rage. It makes us feel furious. It makes us feel that there is a roaring desire for justice. And to be honest, I can feel that desire to see as what I call a cosmic sledgehammer being brought down upon those who are causing injustice within this world. I find myself sometimes wanting it, as if someone offends me, probably on social media, or treats me unfairly at work, or cut me off in traffic. Justice, I want it right there. Justice feels good. I suppose I'm seeking it then. Am I? Not to salivate some kind of harm on another person. And that is where the part 1 comes in. Seeking justice. Now, if I would call for justice, am I calling to actually voice some kind of my human appetite for a payback, for an equal opposite of violence against someone who had committed something wrong against me? I should watch out. Such a standard for justice, if it's applied to me, would demand a price I don't want to pay. I would remain standing under that rule of sledgehammer justice, that swift, violent, painful justice that I find myself wishing upon others. My friends, justice isn't about a payback. Justice isn't about a sledgehammer. Justice isn't about an eye for eye. Justice without love is not justice. Let me repeat that again. Justice without love is not justice. So then I ask myself, if I'm going to gratefully rely on mercy in order to escape that sledgehammer justice in which I have coined, why am I so slow for the hope to give mercy to someone else who may not agree with me, who may offend me, who may cut me off in traffic? We have seen sometimes that those who have been convicted of a wrongdoing that they have not commit, and upon their exoneration, they didn't ask for a price to be paid back. Most times they don't. They don't say, because this person have done this to me, there has to be a form of justice now which must be formed upon them because of their their injustice in which have happened. There's usually, for those ones, no cry for justice, like some kind of a rifle-bearing white supremacist. Instead, that exonerated person walks out to a life of recidivism, wishing no harm on those who may have lied or who may have acted in a way of saying things which was not committed. Yes, it's like they opened up their arms to that violence and asked that mercy be extended to those of his enemies. And I say enemies, to show forgiveness where it was not wanted, where it was not asked, where it was not deserved. And sometimes that might seem scary, and sometimes it is scary. Sometimes it's like letting someone who had committed a very violent act, a terrorist act, win. Unless there is something much larger than violence, more powerful than exacting a payback. Yes, it's about even letting another person only think that they have won. And friends, in spite of the imperfections and so forth that we have with us, in which we carry with us, mercy can show up. It can show up in our daily failures, in those who offend us. And because of that, that has sometimes made me had to rethink what justice means. That's the kind of justice and mercy in which I would always want to portray in my life, and that is what I ask of you. It must mean that the fact that I should seek to offer others what has been shown to me. Even though sometimes I suspect that justice, mercy, is not very easy. Seeking justice leads me to understand that true justice is about loving mercy, and there is the part two. So for me to show justice to those who don't have my shared vision of justice, it's sometimes, as I said before, it may come with a cost. It may seem crazy, but it comes to those who live their lives in a way as to where they are always marginalized. And many Black and brown indigenous people of color, as to who we know, have lost their lives for justice, too many to account for. And the list goes on, and the list goes on. Let me think of a few Unitarian Universalists now. Let me think of James Reeb, who have lost his life in 1965 because of having the march in Selma. We think of Ayala Luizo, who left her home in Michigan, went to Selma. She was only 39 years old, a wife, a mother of 5, who left her family in Detroit, drove to Alabama to march with Martin Luther King. And now she's dead. She was shot while she was ferrying those who were protesting in a car with a Negro man. Yes, there has been countless terrific parents and others who have heard that message of King's, but the fact that she took it up, of what is known as the Bloody Sunday, many have stayed at home, but she did not. It was reported that she said, I can't sit back and watch my people suffer. And for me, that is where that part 3 comes in. Humility. Being humble enough to say, this is what I will do. I will go to Selma. I will engage in the march for freedom, for justice, for others who don't look like me, who don't look like her. So as I look at this, as I consider this, as I begin to look at justice, I begin to look at mercy, I begin to look at living my life in humility, in a humble fashion. But then it was something interesting about that verse, though. It says, according to your God. And I like that too. Doesn't mean that if there's any specific God, but it's just according to your God, whatever that God may be. So seeking justice, loving mercy, living your life humbly, it is all that symmetry that takes us into who we are, you are, I am as a person. Though I had heard something wonderful that happened at Unitarian Universalist, Youngstown, Ohio. I heard, and I was told, that you had adopted the 8th principle, the proposed 8th principle, I must say. Let me read what it says there. It says, we, the member congregations of Unitarian Universalist associations, covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual holiness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and institutions. That's big. For Unitarian Universalists, Youngstown, Ohio, to take that task on, to adopt that within their content of their church and the precepts of what their church is, it is now that work that needs to be done. Whenever I read this, they adopted 8th principle, or they proposed adopted 8th principle, I always think of Black Lives Matter. It reminds me of Black Lives Matter, which kind of differentiates itself from our first principle, which speaks about the inherent worth and dignity of all people, which sounds like all lives matter. But it's what I usually say, all lives matters when Black Lives Matter. So as we begin to uncover what that means to adopt this principle into the life, to the lifeblood of Unitarian Universalist Justice Ohio, where would that be taking you? This will be a journey, friends. It will be a journey because of where you are, not just in Youngstown, Ohio, as what Reverend Joseph said, beautiful Youngstown, Ohio, but what it will mean that you become a beacon in your community, that you are living out the values of Unitarian Universalism in your lives. As we go back and we look at certain words of what that adopted principle says, it says covenant to affirm, right? Covenant to affirm and to promote. To promote, that means becoming evangelical. No, I wouldn't say that. Although sometimes I consider myself to be an evangelical Unitarian Universalist, but I wouldn't put that on everyone or most of you. So we are living out our faith. What our faith means to be justice bearers, aligning ourselves with partners who are carrying out that work of justice. But then it also says journeying towards spiritual wholeness. When sometimes we invoke the word spiritual, it gets a little bit kind of, why do we have to invoke that word? But the word spiritual also carries the meaning, if we remove all the hermeneutic and interpretive language, which can be interpreted in certain ways, it is speaking about the wholeness, but about who you and I are. And it's that wholeness, that purity, if I may say that, is what makes us humans. But then it also says by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism. Yes, dismantling racism. Big topic within the past 2 years within our country. We've seen the marches. We've seen the people. We've seen others losing their lives. What does it mean as we continue to dismantle what racism is? As we continue by our actions? Because if you are building, there is no room for racism to exist, because that is what your goal is. That is what you are trying to do. But also think of it in this way too, the fact that as you're creating your community, you're also creating communities within your communities in which you may have. In the sense that as you allow to build the beloved community, you are allowing others, ethnicity-wise, ethnic-wise, to be building their own community, which ought to be respected, which ought to be honored, and which ought to, going back to what I said before, journeying towards that spiritual wholeness. And then it speaks about the other oppressions in ourselves and institutions. Sometimes institutions can be something which is systemic. Last year at our General Assembly of Unitarian Universalism, a report was released, widening the circles of concern. Now, there are specific gems within that report that always have stood out for me. Number one, about our theology. If we ought to dismantle not just racism, but oppressions, what is the theology of Unitarian Universalist faith? Is it a liberation theology? Or is it one which is built around spiritual colonization? So as we begin to dismantle these oppressions, we are not living in a community which is within a silo. We are reaching out. We are abounding. We are widening those circles with where we are. My friends, there is so much more in which I could say, whereby 20 to 25 minutes or half an hour will not allow me. I know I can't keep you here, but you may log off from your screen because you have that option. But the mere fact that Unitarian Universalist, Youngstown, Ohio, is adopting a principle to be a part of their tenants within their congregation, it speaks volumes. It speaks to the paths whereby leadership within Unitarian Universalist, Youngstown, Ohio, are reaching out to say yes. It is not about our pews being Black or brown with people of color. It's about the awareness in which Youngstown, Ohio have of always seeking justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly. And friends, as we do this, let you be committed as what a youth had said about that phrase about seeking justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly. This is what she says. As we remove the interpretive language of the original text, the question still remains, what does my commitment to building radical, just, beloved community require of me to seek justice, love kindness, and walk humbly? At this point, only these things and nothing more. May it be so. Amen. I will close this with a Sui prayer that says, Great Spirit, fill us with light, give us the strength to understand and the eyes to see. Teach us to walk on this soft earth as relatives to all that live.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts until we meet again. And as you depart today, please remember the one great fact. You are loved and never truly alone.